Where were we? What were we talking about? Let's talk some ball, Will. First pitch is next. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 53 of Bringing It In. My name is Cody Pyatt. With me, as always, the full team fastball of co-host Will Sism. Happy Labor Day, buddy. This is officially, we do podcasts every major holiday. So we'll catch you guys on Halloween, unless there's one I'm not aware of. Dude, it's been a second. How's your summer? How you doing?
It has been a little bit, but man, it is so good to be back on. 83 had to, we just had to build up the anticipation for it over the last, month or two. But but doing great. Like I said, I'm so excited to be back on. I think this is going to be a great episode to catch up on all the things. And man, we're only a few weeks away from postseason baseball. How about that?
It's the most bittersweet thing this time of year, right? You got September, you got college football just started, NFL next week. I hope everybody did great on their NFL fantasy drafts. I'm sure. I think the numbers are insane. Like I heard 30 million people participate.
Oh, I believe
in those.
it.
I mean, it's so much bigger than baseball.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk some ball. But you're right, dude. This is the best time of year. It's a ton of fun. Guys, we're gonna dive back into all kinds of fun stuff. We're gonna talk some standings. We're gonna do our heat check player of the week. Had a bad day players. People who really drug you down. I got one. I got a doozy for you guys. And then on the grill, we're gonna hit the grill. We got some risers and fallers. Just trying to think of things that, hey, broad strokes, what could we talk about? Will, you added this. I love it. What the heck happened to the catcher position?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this. Seattle let go of Scott Service. See you later, alligator. We'll see if that makes a difference. And then more impressive, man, what Shohei or Judge is doing. Of course, we'll wrap it up with the Roman Candle player of the week. I think this is going to be more of a discussion because if you guys – we'll definitely talk about it then. But last time we left on a fan vote, and we'll talk about how that went. But in my head, it more led to kind of a notion of something that I really want to bend your ear on, Will, because sometimes I think there's a misconception in fantasy baseball. So stick into the end, guys. Buckle up because it's been a while. Will and I got lots of thoughts. It's going to be a great time. Hey, off the cuff, dude, before we dive into the standings, I have a question for you. We didn't talk about it. If anybody records podcasts or, anything that you put out into the world, sometimes you'll realize before you hit record, most of the best stuff is chatted about. We get on, we have a few just off the cuff thoughts. So I got a question for you. You're diving into fantasy playoffs, right? It's some leagues start this week. Some have actually already happened. Some start next week. Any changes in what you do managerially once you get into the playoffs? How does that change for you?
It's an super good question. So I would say this. So oh gosh. So obviously when we're talking about fantasy playoffs, we're probably talking about head to head because obviously if you're in a roto league, it's kind of season long and it's just kind of end of the season, So if we're talking head to head, here's kind of what I'm thinking. So let's start pitching. So you know how in postseason basketball, like in the NBA playoffs, they talk about shortening the bench. Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking about in fantasy baseball. I don't want to, with all due respect to kind of the mid-level starting pitchers out there, I don't want to go down having to, put in Martin Perez, hoping for the best, when I've got maybe 2 or 3 studs on my team. I'm just going to live and die by those guys. So obviously if the matchup dictates itself to where I have to go more volume, that can obviously change. But the game plan for me on the pitching side of things when I'm in the playoffs is to try to shorten the rotation a little bit, really, really lean into my studs, if that makes sense. And then, really on the hitting side, I've said this before, really all it takes, if you really boil it down, is you need to find 2 or 3 like really, really hot bats. And then, if you can find 1 or 2 hot bats that are in addition to your stud the core of your team, you've
Yeah.
got a really, really good opportunity to win, and so, that's really kind of my whole mindset. Like I want to build around my studs, use my studs, lean on them. And then if I can find one or two bats that are just really, really hot,
Yeah.
I'm going to try to insert those into the lineup just to get extra, counting stats wherever I can. And then I always say this, like at the beginning of the season, always remember this in head to head, whether
Mhm.
your league is 10 categories, 8 categories, or 20 categories. All you got to do is win half of them.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
know, you
Yep.
got to win the majority. Let's call it that. And so you don't have to win 12-4, right? 9-8 get you through. So always remember that, and that's really the kind of as it differentiates from kind of my regular season mindset. That's really the only differences that I really think about once we get into the playoff time.
Yeah, I love it, dude. Yeah, I'm with you. I think the biggest takeaway, there's lots of little things I feel like I do differently just
Yeah,
because you can. It's kind of, what's the word, vindicating. It frees
yeah,
you up. And that's my biggest point is, don't be afraid to loosen up your roster a little bit.
yeah,
Like those, especially redraft, oh man, let it eat.
yes,
Because there is no tomorrow.
right,
So if you got a guy not performing, cut him loose and pick up somebody that is. And really, it just doesn't matter. You hang on to guys for a lot of reasons because of the potential you think they could have. You traded for this player maybe on a buy low. If he's not
right,
playing well, boom, cut him loose. I got a couple. Mitch Keller.
yeah,
Mitch Keller, he picks his spots
yeah,
in different size leagues, though. Going into the playoffs, he will not catch a start on my. There's no way.
right,
Uh, JV tonight was kind of as I'm hitting the last week before the playoffs in the rest of my leagues. I got Justin Verlander in a lot of leagues, and this was a show me start against the Cincinnati Reds. Didn't show me
woof,
much. I didn't.
yeah,
But listen, that's a guy I traded for in a deal. I think I had Luis Hill and a couple of closers for Pete Alonso and JV as kind of a throw in. This was
mm-hmm,
directly before he got hurt. So it was just terrible timing. His comeback hasn't given me much.
yeah,
But it's like, hey, it doesn't matter. You don't win, lose trades at this point. I mean, you're
right,
already at the dance. Just go out and try and win the thing. So that's kind of one of my favorite things about fantasy playoffs is you can kind of throw off all the stuff you worry about with the fantasy analyst and what you should do normally
mm-hmm,
for redraft. Throw it away and just Al Davis, man, just win, baby. So
that's right.
that's what we're out here trying to do. Will, thanks for me. Guys, he didn't even know about that. Answered it like a champ. That was awesome. Moving on, let's talk standings, dude. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you something. 6 divisions, 5 of these are going to be nail biters.
Yeah,
Okay. And the only one, we'll get to it, NL Central. I think the Brewers pretty much have that locked up.
which
But,
is really surprising if we would have said that like going into the year. Of all divisions, this is going to be the one runaway.
it's absolutely insanity. Oh, yeah. This morning, I was listening to, before everybody got up, I was listening to episode 82 because I just wanted to hear where the standings were. And, it was, you had, well, I guess a lot of it was similar, kind of like we talked about. New York, Baltimore kind of did their thing, but the
Mm-hmm.
West and the AL was very different. We still had a lot of belief, and the Braves still might do their thing, but we had a lot of belief in the Braves, a lot of belief in the Cubs,
Mm-hmm.
who are in second now. They were in last. We got to get into this, dude. Let's start with the AL East Central, AL East Central. What am I talking about? AL East, dude. They're the central of what we're going to talk about right now. The New York Yankees and Baltimore Orioles. Okay, it's percentage points, and it looks like the Yankees are a game up in the loss column, so they're on top, 79 and 58. Baltimore 80 and 59, so they're tied for first. You have the Red Sox at 70 and 67. They're 9 games back. Tampa Bay 67 and 69, and then the Blue Jays 67, 72. Cleveland Guardians in the Central moving on. They're 4 games up on the Twins. Guardians 79, 59. Twins 74 and 62. You got those Kansas City Royals on a 6-game loser. We were talking about that before we hit record. 75 and 64. No problems with Bobby Witt. He's still absolutely raking.
Yeah.
Detroit Tigers, hottest team in the Central, 70 and 68. And then the coldest team maybe ever, Will. The Chicago White Sox, 31 and 108, a winning percentage of 223. They will
Wow.
absolutely catch the most losses in the history of Major League Baseball. I think they may already have a minus 301 run differential. That's absolute. I cannot believe there's a single.
Wait, say that again?
Minus. Holy crap! They're on an 11-game losing streak. This is the third, and I know you just asked me to say something again, but as I'm looking over, this is the third 10+ loser of this.
Right. What?
Okay.
So what's their run differential?
Minus 301.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. It has been. Dude, how does anybody go to those games? Like, why would you go? I mean, no offense, it's not the nicest stadium you've ever seen.
No.
It's not like Kansas City when
I mean,
they were bad all those
at
years.
this point, you're just picking out games like, all right, who's the team coming in to play the White Sox, and who do I want to see? You know,
Corbin Burns and Gunnar Henderson today. Yeah, for sure, dude. And then in the oh my gosh, in the West, man. Moving on, Houston Astros, 75 and 63. They're 5.5 games up on the Mariners, 69 and 68. Like I said, we're going to talk about them later. Rangers, that's probably done and dusted, 65 and 72. They're 9.5 games back with 28 to go. Athletics will not get dead last this year, probably. You got 59 wins for them, and then LA Angels, no Shohei, no Trout. No reason to really watch. Zach Neto's been pretty solid.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know. Let's move on, I guess. In the American League, Will, I got a question for you. I don't know when we're going to get to talk about it again before. Who's coming out of the American League, man? Who's your favorite to represent the American League?
Man, this golly, the American League feels wide open. And to be honest with you, the National League feels a little bit more open than it did when we were last recording. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I mean, I can make a really good argument for just about any of them that are going to be in the playoffs, quite honestly. But if you had to pin, if you had to pin me down, I'm going to stick with the Yankees. I think the Yankees have, golly, I think they have enough offense.
Yeah.
Soto, Judge, I think that they'll be able to score enough runs. I think their pitching in the postseason will hold up. I have to believe Garrett Cole will continue to find his form. I think that they'll figure out what works with that rotation. And again, kind of like what I was saying earlier with fantasy playoffs, like the beauty about the postseason, you can shorten your rotation. And so how are they going to utilize Luis Gil? I know he's been kind of off form lately and hurt, but if he comes back healthy, you know, he's somebody that you could do whatever you wanted with. You could start him for a few innings. You could bridge him to the bullpen. You could do whatever you want.
Yeah. He might end up closing. I mean,
he might.
Clay Holmes has blown more saves than anybody in Major League Baseball.
Yeah. But the thing is that I do like about Clay Holmes is his stuff's insanely good, and so as long as he can keep it around the strike zone, his stuff is really good. And so we'll see. I mean, here's the thing: you said it. I mean, all these teams have holes. I mean, speaking of bullpen, the only reason I won't pick Baltimore is that bullpen scares me to death, man. I just don't see Baltimore. I mean, they're going to have to literally outscore teams, I think, in order to keep advancing. And that's hard to do in the postseason. I want to say a team like the Guardians, but, man, the offense still scares me.
Rotation scares me a little bit, too. Now, their bullpen is tops in baseball by, I think, like .60 ERA. So they're leaps and bounds better.
Yeah.
Dude. There's a conversation, Skubal versus Class A for the AL.
No, I agree.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it should be Skubal, but Class A has been as odd. He's 41 for 44 in save chances.
I agree.
Guys, how is this not? It's got to be RP1. I know it's, you go Hader, maybe Bautista when he gets back, Diaz.
Oh, Class A
leads every year in saves.
Yeah.
I think we push him down just a little. I mean, he's still blue chip, but we push him down because the Case stuff isn't like Case per nine isn't there, and it should be. I mean, his stuff's so
Right.
nasty, but he's kind of like Clay Holmes. Like swing and miss stuff isn't really there.
Yeah.
Puts the ball on the ground a lot, which
Yeah.
I think that's kind of bitten Clay Holmes more with the Yankees defense that just isn't.
I agree with that.
As what the Guardians.
And what's incredible about Class A too is because I've tried to make it a point to watch him more because it's really fun to watch.
Oh.
And what's really underrated in my opinion with Class A is obviously everybody talks about he throws a 101 mile an hour cutter, which he does.
Yeah.
But what's incredible about him is the command. Like he very rarely walks guys, and he just induces so much weak contact. And you mentioned like I'm shocked that his K rate is not higher, just because he throws so hard. But it's impressive, man. I love watching that guy pitch. But you're right about the Guardians. They can lock you down, man. If you don't have a lead after about inning 5, you're in trouble. But then just to wrap up kind of what I was saying about the contenders in the AL, man, the Astros, you can never rule them out. And the lineup's really gotten going. Honestly, ever since Kyle Tucker went down, man, it's like that team flipped. It's like they flipped a switch. Yeah. And I think a couple of big things. Obviously, the lineup has woken up, especially the top half of it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: Hader's been awesome, but man, the middle of the bullpen still scares me to death with the Astros because Brian Abreu hasn't been great this year. He's been very feast or famine. Same with Presley. The other guys are, put them in for an inning and you pray.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that scares me about the Astros is you just can't in the postseason. You can't. You have to have a path to get to Hader, right?
Yeah,
you can't just, those starters aren't all going 7-8 innings and then you go right to Hader. That's just not going to happen. And so that's the Achilles heel, in my opinion, for the Astros. Yeah. How do you get to Hader? And, the rotation's been better. Framber's looked a lot more like himself over the last month or two, which is huge.
Can we talk real quick about Kikuchi? Because when that deal went down, I'm not kidding you, I thought that was the worst deal.
Yeah.
The whole trade deadline.
But let's see how he does in the postseason. He's looked awesome so far.
I mean, I hear you, dude, but in Toronto, he was terrible.
I agree.
Mid-4 ER. He'd miss bats for sure. Over 9 Ks per 9, but
the home run ball got him though, didn't it? Always.
Yeah, that was for sure a problem. But he's come to Houston, and it's just like, what do they know that we didn't?
What were the Blue Jays doing?
Blue Jays I thought they gave up way too much for him, and he might be just what they need. I know we just talked about him, right? But I tell you what, my biggest qualm with Houston, and I know it's not because I'm married into a Houston family. If I had to put money on it, it'd be H-Town, and here's why. That rotation has gotten a lot better. Now, can Spencer Arrighetti do what he's been doing the last month and a half in October? That's a big question. Framber, I'm not worried about.
Yeah.
I would throw Kikuchi and Spencer for playoffs. Question marks. Make me nervous. But if you think about where we were, like before, like last time we were recorded.
Yeah. They were in trouble.
Big time. I remember kind of thinking, "Whoa, this is
right.
It's not looking great. The path is very narrow." They've had a lot of, Bregman's come back now, slept on his arm wrong, so now his arm's hurt. That's pretty wild. But he's come back, been pretty solid. His numbers are going to land. He's got 23 home runs. He always lands around 25 to 29. Counting stats aren't there because he hasn't been playing. But
the AL is just wide open, man.
It's weird. It feels like for the first time in a long time, we're not going to have a team win 100 games.
Right.
It is the whole. I can't wait to get to the NL, man. Kansas City could make a run. I think losing Vinny P for them.
Yeah.
It really stings because Sneaky was really solid, man. He had 97 RBIs. He was an absolute stud. when's Buxton getting back, and can he stay healthy for the Twins? Look at the wild card real quick. I would say, I guess I'll cut it off here. 5 games back and up.
Yeah.
You got Seattle Mariners, 69 and 68.
That's the team that nobody wants to get in, though. I know their offense is just a train wreck.
Yeah.
But, man,
rotation.
If they got in,
yeah.
If they just got in, man, that rotation. You talk about like the number 1 seed, whoever that ends up being, and it's like, oh boy, we got Seattle.
Yeah. I mean, especially in like it'd be wild card.
Yeah, that's the team. That's the team that I don't think any of these teams wants to get in.
No. Detroit is a half game above them, 4.5 out.
That's the team that everybody would love to get in.
Get them in here. Get them in here. I can handle Torque Daddy.
Yeah.
And, Javi Baez is done for the year. If you cut off when he left the team and they've propelled and started getting better, there's a direct correlation. I read a stat the other day that his salary per year is triple everybody else's in the lineup combined. And he was batting 9th.
That's so bad.
I might go down, dude. Pablo Sandoval for the Red Sox was a really bad contract. The Baez one might be worse.
Yeah, it's bad.
Because it kind of did a ripple effect on all the shortstops. Like,
right.
Dansby Swanson got $177 million because Javi Baez got paid. I remember wondering, like, why? And then you start doing a little, like, what happened before him. Javi Baez, really, I mean, he got his bag, I guess. But, man, that's a terrible contract. Did I say Red Sox? They're 4 games back. So those are the teams closest to the 3 that are in right now: Kansas City, the Twins, and Baltimore, who, again, percentage points with the Yankees. So you can kind of flip-flop them.
Yeah.
But Baltimore's 5 games up, dude. So, I mean, with a month to go, it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, dude. We're going to be here. But, guys, buckle in, okay? This is too much fun here. Let's go to the National League. The Phillies. They had a big weekend, man, at the bank. 3 out of 4 from the Braves. They've really opened up this lead. They're 7 games up on Atlanta. They're 81 and 56. Atlanta 74 and 63. Don't look now, but the New York Mets 73 and 64. They're 8 games out, so that's only 1 back of the Braves, who we'll talk wild card, but I'm pretty sure Braves are the 3rd spot for the wild card. Washington Nationals, young, fun. We'll see you next year. They're 20 games back, and then Miami Marlins.
Gosh.
You know what I think? Poor Sandy. He got hurt, and there was so much potential on this team. He's coming back, and he's like, what the heck happened?
Yeah.
The Central, we'll run through this. Milwaukee Brewers, 81 and 57. They're 9.5 games up on the Cubs, 71 and 66. They've been 9-1 in their last 10. That's what I'm talking about. Cardinals, don't count them out, 69 and 69. They're 12 games back. Reds and Pirates, you can count them out. 66 and 73 and 63 and 73. The Pirates. Listen, for fantasy, it's a bummer because they will shut down Jared Jones and Paul Skeens, but look out for this team next year. I got a lot of young teams with a lot of potential in the NL. In the West, the Dodgers, 83 and 55. They're 5.5 up on the Padres, 78 and 61. D-backs, they're coming down to earth a little bit, but they were the hottest team after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
For a while. I got some numbers on that, buddy. 77 and 61. The Giants, 68 and 70. And then the Rockies, most beautiful stadium. They actually brew Blue Moon beer out of that stadium. So if you're like a beer guy, go ahead and check that out. But you're not going to see, it depends on who they're playing. You're not going to see a great baseball team. They're dead last. Dude, I'll ask you the same question I asked you about the American League. Who in the name of horsey sauce is going to be representing the NL in the World Series?
Ooh. Tough. Why buck the horse now? I mean, I said the Phillies before the season started, so I'm going to stick with them. I don't think it's as much of a sure thing as it was maybe a month and a half ago, but you mentioned this, like, if you watch that series against Atlanta this past weekend, the Phillies still have the best team. I think the Phillies have kind of been on cruise control for a little while. And I think probably going into these last few weeks of the regular season, you'll start to get them start to ramp it back up a little bit again. And I don't know. I just think the Phillies are the team with the least flaws, if I could put it that way.
Yeah.
I think the rotations matches up against anybody. I think they've done a good job with the bullpen. The bullpen is pretty deep, good arms. The lineup. It might not be the best lineup in baseball, but it's very good.
Pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, you've got superstar Bryce Harper anchored in the middle. Here's the thing: in the postseason, he's as clutch as anybody, and that's as big as anything right there. Finding a couple of clutch players in big moments, and so. I think that the Phillies have as good a chance as anybody. I think that, here's the thing, though. I think that it's no guarantee that the Braves get in.
That's true.
But I think the Braves are dangerous if that lineup ever gets like cooking, like it has potential to, but it feels like we've just been waiting on that all year. So we'll see if that actually happens. Man, I'll say this, if the Mets had a ace, I would give the Mets a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
Because that lineup has gotten better. Yeah. Lindor's woken up after the first couple of months of the season.
Like he always does.
Yeah.
Like he always does. He's going to get second. He will be NL runner-up to MVP this year. I don't know if you've taken a look at his numbers.
Yeah.
He's been unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, real quick.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Fisher. I was going to hit the wild card. I meant to. I'm sorry about that.
I was just going to say this. I was going to throw this out at you.
Here we go.
Is it time for us to consider the Brewers as a legitimate threat in the National League?
I mean,
like what do we make of the Brewers? Like let's face it, they've run away and hidden in this division.
It's true. And it's so funny how they've gone from like lights out rotation, no offense, to kind of the opposite.
Like exciting lineup.
Yeah, without their National League MVP out for the year with back surgery.
Is this a legit contender in the National League?
I hate to say, I would pick the Braves over them. I might pick the D-backs. And that's so disrespectful. But this Braves rotation, honestly, not that bad. Okay?
No, it's not.
You got Chris Sale, who's going to win the NL Cy Young, which, rocking the Red Sox hat today. I could not believe he's just stayed healthy. And
I agree.
I can believe that he's done what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because he's actually healthy. It's just absolutely heartbreaking when you look at the Red Sox who don't have
That's all they need.
Yes. Dude.
That's all they need.
Yes. It is.
That's the difference in the playoffs for the Red Sox right there.
I would agree 100%.
Yeah.
It's a tough – it kind of makes me nauseous when I think about it too much. It's so sad, dude.
Yeah.
But happy for him. And then you got Max Fried, who's been so-so when he's
been very so-so.
But he can turn it on. Spencer Swellenbach.
Dude.
Out of nowhere.
Dude.
Out of nowhere.
That kid's good, dude.
He's so good. It's so good. Did you watch Sunday Night Baseball last night?
Yeah, that kid's good, man.
Yeah.
They've got a good one.
They were talking about, he's really not throwing his breaking ball that much.
Yeah.
So it's all the two-seamer. And then they mentioned, it's because that's what he did last time. It's like he's playing chess.
Mm-hmm.
He's just switching it up. I love that, dude, because he knows they're going to see him again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's awesome. And they might have even seen it last night. I think if this team gets in with, and I keep waiting for the wheels to fall off this wagon, but Renato Lopez.
Right.
I mean, he's back into the bullpen. I think I said that. Like, well, if he can't be a starter, put him in the 8th inning.
Yeah.
Just dumb, dude. He's got the best ERA in the NL.
I know.
So innings and strikeouts aren't there to compete, in my mind, for this Cy Young. I think it's Sale or Wheeler, but it's, dude, that top 4 right there. And then if Iglesias can stay as hot as he's been
right
in the 9th, you're going to get Ozzie Albies back. Are you getting Austin Riley back? What can Matt Olson do?
You know what sounds really crazy?
Dude, talk to me.
Are we more concerned about the Braves lineup right now than the
I think 100%.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy, dude. Let's look at it real quick. Yeah, plus 61 run differential. I think their run differential.
But the only guy, but the only guy in that lineup that's really that's been consistent all year is Ozuna. He's the only guy in that whole lineup that has He has literally carried that lineup for most of the year, which is absolutely insane to think about.
It's crazy. Yeah, they traded for Soler, which I love that deal. He came over. His career numbers with the Braves versus anybody else,
Yeah.
over 900.
Yeah.
Now, the past 3 weeks, I swear I think it's like 1 for 24. It's been so bad. He's looked real bad, but he's lost right now. Michael Harris is starting to click a little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think if they get in, I think a lot of people are rooting for the Mets. I think a lot of these teams are rooting for the Mets. It's going to be one heck of a September.
So you're telling me you give the Brewers 0 shot?
Not 0 shot. I don't know. Like Peralta, their rotation I have Peralta on a lot of fantasy teams, and it's just like, what is going on? Like he looks solid today.
Yeah, I can't take somebody like that.
It's been weird.
Yeah.
It's like everything that used to work for him. It's like he's leaving his changeup up, and every time I don't watch him. It's weird. I do this with certain players on fantasy teams. I don't watch them because when I watch them, they do bad.
Yeah.
Who else? Pete Alonso. All 30 of his home runs. I've never seen a Pete Alonso home run. He strikes out on sliders away when I watch him. I will turn it. I will switch to a different game. You can ask my sweet wife, who's like, why can't we just watch? She asked me this other day. It's like, we can't just watch baseball anymore. No, babe, no. It's like, it's fixing to be playoff time. This is just not going to get any better. Like, it's going to get more nervous. I try and play it cool when I talk to people in the league, but sometimes, you get nervous that these head-to-heads can fluctuate so much day to day. So right now it's crunch time. It's like all this time I put in.
I'll be honest.
Hit me.
I give the Brewers more than a puncher's chance. I really do. I think the lineup. Yeah. I think the lineup is plenty good enough.
Yeah.
And man, I don't know what it's in the water in Milwaukee, but they always figure out having a great bullpen. Yeah. So essentially all their starters have to do is go through the lineup a couple of times and you turn it over to the bullpen and they're usually in great shape. So, I mean, do I think they're the most dominant team? No. Do I think that other teams have probably more talent? Yes. But I give them a shot. I like the way they play. They're going to cause havoc on the base paths. They make you uncomfortable. They remind me a lot, actually, of some of the Rays teams in the past.
Yeah.
And I think, again, they're not the favorites, but I'm just saying I think we got to at least give them a shot.
Yeah. I want to believe. I see them getting bounced last year from a really hot Arizona team.
Yeah.
With Corbin Burns and dude, we'll see. I am ready to be wrong.
Let's talk about the West.
Let's talk about the West, dude. Yeah, here in the West, you still got the Dodgers doing their thing. But right behind them, San Diego going on the run that we wanted them to go on last year with Soto. And then you got the D-backs. I got numbers on the D-backs, okay? League-wide, you remember what I said the OPS was going up to the All-Star break was 699 league-wide?
Yes.
After the All-Star break, 730. So offenses has ticked up as a whole. The number one offense?
Arizona,
853 since the All-Star break. So they've looked good. Corbin Carroll, you know how we've been saying Julio or Corbin? It's pretty. Corbin has really started to hit the ball well.
Yeah.
I think he homered like 6 straight games or something ridiculous. I could be wrong on that, but he had a lot in a week.
Yeah.
I got him on some teams. And it's like, oh, finally, I can grab onto this guy. It's like, whew, just in the nick of time. Not a total bust. Like, Julio's still OPS in like 650. So
unbelievable.
He got hurt. I mean, dude, he was batting 375 in July.
Yeah,
and then he got hurt trying to make that catch. Hurt his ankle.
Dude, we can have a whole show on Julio Rodriguez.
We're doing it right now. We got to move on to Heat Check, dude. We're 30 minutes in talking standings, but I think run away with the West, man, and we go into these playoff series, and it might be a different story. I still like the Dodgers for. I don't think they're going to win in the playoffs, but to win the division.
Oh yes.
I think it's like. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't think they're winning this thing in the playoffs. I really don't.
What the heck happened to Will Smith? We're going to talk about it. It's a rhetorical question right now. But there's a lot of... Shohei, has not been hitting for average. I think he sees the writing on the wall. He wants to get 50-50, and he is trying to tank right now. He's trying to tank these balls.
That
hitting hard.
rotation is an absolute mess.
Dude, is Glass now coming back?
No, I don't think he is.
I don't think so either. I think he's a drop in redraft leagues, which is crazy. It's
Yeah.
because at first I thought they were trying to give him a little rest.
That's what I thought.
Kershaw, Bonespur, he's gone. Bueller and
Bobby Miller's been a mess all year. Like
Yeah,
it's that
one good
rotation, dude. It is a mess.
It's like, here you go, Gavin Stone. Like, this is your. It's gonna be.
I mean, they need Jack Flaherty to be like Jack Flaherty for the Cardinals' first and second year. I mean, he is gonna have to.
Which, by the way, he has been so good.
Oh, he's been great.
He's been. I mean, his ADP, it had to be north of 200, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he what did anybody?
I mean, he was undrafted in almost a lot of leagues.
It's crazy how good he's been.
But the Dodgers are a mess, man.
If they don't make that deal, I don't think they're winning the division. I think San Diego or Arizona would have caught them.
I agree.
And it's hard to tell, man. I think the Dodgers did what they had to do, which was I think they took 3 or 4 from Arizona. So they really stretched it out a little bit, actually knocked Arizona down to third place. They were in second. They were like 2 games behind. So I remember thinking like Tuesday we could wake up, Arizona could be in first. That'd be crazy. Yeah. I think I'm with you with Philly just because I think they're hungry.
Yeah.
I think they've done it before. They lost the World Series. Probably think they should have gotten past the D-backs last year after taking the first 2, I believe.
Yeah. I think it's the Phillies to lose. I really do.
Phillies to lose with the Dodger injuries.
Yeah.
And the Braves injuries. I think it's so different, man, if the Braves stay healthy. I really And I still, like I said, I like their pitching staff. Maybe over. I'd love to see the Dodgers and Atlanta go. I think that would be very interesting because you have kind of strength versus strength and weakness versus weakness.
Yeah.
So
I think the Braves are better than the Dodgers right now. I really do. I'm kind of down on the Dodgers, man. If it wasn't for those 3 superstars that they have, that team would be in shambles.
Yeah. Teoscar's also been very
He's been very good.
He's set to get paid.
Yes.
I mean, that's crazy. Seattle, dude, he was terrible. Takes this deal with the Braves.
Real quick.
Talk to me.
I know we got to move on, but is there something like the anti-Coors Field with Seattle's ballpark? Like,
I got something on that.
There's got to be something there because there is, like, I mean, I've just never seen. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. It feels like the anti-Colorado. Like it's almost like you go there to die if you're a hitter.
Dude, listen, it's that rotation, number 1 in Major League Baseball.
Right.
I've read people say the batter's eye is weird there.
Yeah.
It's just like Willie Adames in Tampa.
There's got to be
remember
something.
His home road splits were insane.
Yes.
You can see it with some of the American League or their batters.
Yeah.
They hit better on the road. I think something's weird with that batter's eye.
I do too.
There's
got to be something to it.
Yeah, because it's not like the biggest ballpark. It's not
right.
like it's ginormous.
Right.
They didn't do what Baltimore did, move the fence back and
right.
I'm with you. It's weird. I think they could. I wouldn't be surprised. How every once in a while they just like do something to the stadium, like bring it in.
Right.
Or like I just talked about with the Orioles, push out the fences.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they do something to rectify it because over the stretch it's crazy. They're making changes. We're going to talk about it. Speaking of changes, Will, let's change on to the next segment, dude. We're on pace to have our first ever Bringing the Heat marathon episode. It's going to be great. It's going to be hot. Speaking of hot, let's move on to Heat Check. It's a little brisk in Tennessee today. Not really. It was just not hot. It was a beautiful day. But if you were cool, maybe your AC was on too much. That might have just warmed you up a little bit. Heat Check Player of the Week, buddy. Who has been lighting it on fire?
I tell you what, man. We were just talking about this team, but Matt Olson in Atlanta. I made these notes basically just over a day ago, but prior to, I think, yesterday or the day before, he had an extra base hit in 7 straight games, including 4 home runs. So, I was talking about just earlier how it's been Ozuna pretty much all year carrying that offense. if they can get Matt Olson, and you mentioned Michael Harris, like somebody other than Ozuna, 2 other guys can get hot in that lineup, the Braves all of a sudden become extremely dangerous because we're talking about how good that rotation still could be. So let's see. I mean, Matt Olson obviously had the career year of all career years last year, and I was a little skeptical going into this year. I think a lot of people thought I was crazy, but I was like, man, this guy was just on it last year. But I tell you what, the Braves are going to forgive him if he gets hot at the right time, and so let's just see. This is going to be a fun couple of weeks heading down the stretch, and keep an eye on Matt Olson. If he all of a sudden gets steaming hot these last few weeks, the Braves turn into all kinds of a dangerous team in the National League.
Yeah, definitely lengthens the lineup, dude. Yeah, these numbers: 234 average, 25 home runs, 77 RBIs.
Yeah, kind of blah.
Kind of blah for this guy.
Yep.
Who outside of the 2020 season, he had a 195 average, 734 OPS. Outside of that, he has been rocking OPSs over 800, and a lot of them in the 9s. So this has been, 70-57 this year. I don't know, but everything you said is true. I mean, if he can get going right now's the time. And they could have done some damage in this series. Maybe you're talking division, but at this point, you just got to get wild card, get to the dance, like we always talk about. I love that pick, dude. I'd go with Yordan Alvarez. Got him on a lot of teams, and it was one of those weeks you're feeling really good because he had a 3-homer game.
Yeah.
On I think Wednesday, 4 for 4 with 3 bombs and a walk. And then here's the deal. He had another one. He had 2-homer game on was it yesterday? Was it Sunday? And he should have had a third. He hit one to the deepest part of Minute Maid. I thought it was gone off the bat. I think everybody did. Warning track power on that one. Yeah, dude is a stud. He's been able to stay healthy. And, we talked about the Astros making the leap from, they were 10 back. Now they're they got control of this division for right now, and no Tucker. Tucker's coming back on Wednesday from one of the weirder elements I've ever seen or heard of in Major League Baseball. Yordan's done a lot of carrying. Altuve's been great too, but I would say this guy has just been so awesome, and he's my Heat Check Player of the Week. Will, anything on him before we go? Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I will say I do have to shout out to Yainer Diaz. He had a tough start to the year, but I tell you what, he's been I mean, here's the thing. I'm not going to say he's a superstar, but what he's meant in the middle of that lineup, especially with Tucker out of the lineup for so long, he has been really, really, really good for them, and in my opinion has kind of provided what that team needs, which is basically a supporting cast behind the big 3 of Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, and I think he's done his job in my opinion.
Yeah, he has taken Bregman's place in that big 3.
Yeah.
Because
he's been great.
He's been so good. Bregman's been hurt and kind of spotted this year. Listen, this is a guy we had in our question marks,
right?
Catcher wise, I know I had a lot of. I think we did like who's going to make the leap. I got this dude on a ton of teams. I really liked him. It's really paid off. I got super nervous.
It took him a while.
It did. It really did.
Yeah.
But he's batting 300. It's got a lot of pop, and dude, we'll talk about it. What the heck happened to catchers?
He's been good though.
He might be a top 5 catcher next year because we're gonna look at the blue chip specifically.
Yeah,
it's pretty tough. Listen, hey, if you've been running in this Houston lineup, if you're a pitcher, it's been a pretty tough day. It's been bad days for these guys too. Because you had a bad day, you're taking one down. All right, ooh. Dude, we got 2 doozies on this list. Tell me about your had a bad day player of the week.
Dude, man, I
had a bad day player of the year right here.
Cody, you know how much that historically I've liked this guy, but dude, David Bednar, I don't know I don't know what the deal is with him ever since the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's still hurt. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But he has looked like a different player in all the wrong reasons
Yeah.
ever since the end of last year. And
Yeah.
so anyways, the reason why he got my bad player of the week this week is because he it was middle last week. He gave up 5 earned runs, 2 walks in just 2/3 of an inning. And ended up obviously losing the game. And as a result, he lost the closing job.
Yeah.
And it probably should have happened sooner than that.
Big time.
But man, this guy's got over like a 6.5 ERA for the year. I think his WHIP's over 1.5. I mean, this guy has just been bad.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, I don't know what the answer is. I know the Pirates are now moving him into low leverage situations and for the foreseeable future, which they should be.
Mm-hmm.
Aroldis Chapman, I guess, is going to close games for him, but man, Bednar has just been awful this year. I mean, if you still have him in a league, I really admire your loyalty.
Yeah.
But man, he needs to get dropped.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't care if you're in like a 16-team league. He should not be rostered right now.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I mean, he's not doing anything for you. He's killing your ratios. He's not going to get save chances, which we're talking about Pittsburgh, not a very fruitful save chance anyway. So, yeah, dude, it's
crazy.
Speaking of loyalty, loyalty for their manager to keep him where he was for so long. Because I'm not saying that they would be in playoff contention, but they're 10 games under 500. They'd be closer to 500. I tell you that right now. If they could close out some of these games, he's looked bad, man. He started out looking bad, and he never really looked good. It's weird, some guys kind of get hot for a little bit. He's had a tough season. My heat check. Oh man, had a bad day player. Bailey Ober, the Nightmare Bailey Ober, that's his nickname. I didn't make that up. That's his nickname. You guys remember he had a abysmal start. I think he gave up 9 earned runs, 1.1 innings to start the season. I was like, ooh, that's not good. He has been better. All right. I think prior to this, he was on like a 6-game quality start run. He had like 11 good starts in a row. And then to start your fantasy week in some people's fantasy playoffs, okay, on a Monday. All right. I throw this guy in. I'm like, hey, this could be solid. Here we go. Let's get out to a good lead. I check my phone. 9 earned runs, 2 innings pitched, and the Twins would keep him in there because they got to get some depth.
Right.
Rain delay. So he's not going to come back after the rain delay, Will. So you're just stuck with a 40.5 ERA to start your week. Head-to-head categories, you immediately have to be like, all right.
Right.
We're tackling other categories. Like, how can I win other categories? You cannot worry about ERA. It's done. Even 2 innings in, like 2 innings pitched in. It just is. I mean, the other guy would have to get absolutely hammered. And just for anybody wanting to know, I did not win. We made it close, but I did not win that week. Tough way to start your head-to-head. Came back against Toronto. Took the loss, but pitched really well. I don't actually think he took the loss. I think no decision, but I'm pretty sure he gave up 1 earned run. Yeah, 1 earned run on a home run, 8 Ks. So
yeah, you're right though. He's actually been really good. If you could take away his like 3 just absolute turds, I mean, he would actually have some pretty good numbers.
His ERA for the season after that start went from 3.54 to 4.06.
Yeah.
Bad, dude. WHIP under 1 before that start, then 1.04. So, like, he's been solid, and he is probably the Twins' ace, unless I'm forgetting somebody.
Pablo.
Yeah, it's true. I forgot Pablo. I'm forgetting somebody. Pablo's look solid.
He's been much better in the last month and a half.
Yeah, it's a beautiful call, dude. See, this is, guys, get yourself a Will, man. Fantasy analyst Will Sism. Here we go. Dude, Bailey Ober. I love it. Come on, bounce back, baby, bounce back. Because I was like, I might cut him. what you said about pitching is so true. I'm not going with these medium caliber guys.
Do not. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
Do not lose your fantasy championship because of Bailey Ober.
No.
You go down swinging with your horses.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. You will not live. You look. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's fantasy baseball. It's not that important, right? But you will always remember if you lose a week because you start a guy like Bailey Ober as opposed to like you leaning on Corbin Burns, Zach Wheeler, like your horses.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm telling you, unless you have to, don't do it.
Yeah. If he's your ace, I mean, your offense has got to be banging.
Yes.
And you got a pretty narrow window to win. Anyway.
Yep.
I digress. Let's hit the grill. I got sound on the grill, Will? I'm sure. No, it's just the heat check player. It's been so long since we've done this. I pulled up the sound bar. I was like, what buttons do I hit for? Yeah, it's just been so much fun. Okay, hitting the grill. I thought, what's a fun way to kind of look at fantasy holistically? We've missed a month and a half. It would be weird for us to come in and be like, hey, here's how you can be successful your fantasy year. A lot of people have moved on to fantasy football. So if you're listening to us, we appreciate you. Let's talk about some risers and fallers. We got one riser, one faller, Will. Let's talk about it, baby. Who you got rising?
Man, this is going to Boston, man.
What I'm talking about.
Jarren Duran. I will admit, man, I thought kind of, I don't know, before the All-Star break, I was like, okay, is this time to like really sell high, on a guy like Jarren Duran? And I tell you what, I mean, I watch a lot of baseball, and so I've paid a lot of attention to Jarren Duran this year, and I'm like, okay, is he legit? And every time I watch him, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Like it looks like he's starting to figure it out. Like I think he was always known as like a speed, really athletic guy.
Yeah.
Going into this year, but man, he just looks like he understands how to hit now. And he makes a lot of hard contact now. He doesn't swing at a lot of bad pitches now. And when I see kind of those things to where when a batter limits like kind of the bad swings at uncompetitive pitches and consistently making hard contact, man, that's really what it's all about. And so you add this to a guy who's super fast, hits obviously the top of the lineup, man. I think he's legit. I think he's a top 30 guy moving forward. I really do, man. When you look at the steals, I think he's got potential to hit plenty of. I mean, I think he'll hit a minimum of 20 home runs, probably moving forward. I mean, I don't know what's not to like, and outfield kind of stinks, and so I really like Jarren Duran. I don't think this is a flash in the pan. I think this is something that he's going to continue to build on moving forward, and I don't think he's ever going to be looked at as like a top, let's just say a first or a second round fantasy draft pick. But man, I think if you land him somewhere between third and fifth round, I think you're going to be getting an excellent player.
Dude, I think a lot of people are looking at him like we looked at Michael Harris a little bit. Dude, 295 average, 21 homers, 70 RBIs, 32 steals.
Yeah.
Scored 96 runs. Like, dude,
I think this is what everybody dreamed that Michael Harris wanted. We wanted Michael Harris to be.
Yeah, and I listened to some fantasy analysts talking about this guy going back half of the first, top half of the second. I'm like, that's a little rich.
That's a little rich for me too, but
but if you think about it, I mean, this guy's got 21 homers, 32 steals.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a stretch to say he's going to go 25 40. I mean, which is so solid. And we love Julio because he had a 32 37 year. This is not that different. And so the average where it's at, it's not nothing. I would struggle to take him that high. I mean, this guy, Dynasty. Well, he's 27. I don't know. I don't.
This guy just feels like a guy hitting his stride, man. This guy, I think he's legit. I really do.
I mean, listen, I watch him a ton. I'm with you. He looks legit. I don't know if I'm drafting him over Julio, or I think I'd rather take the Corbin Carroll Julio discount than draft this guy a ton earlier. Which is funny because I was the guy who was like Michael Harris.
I think I'd take Durant over both of those guys.
I'm gonna be very interested in drafts next year to see how close they all go together, because he's had a great year. And you know what? Last year in 100 games wasn't that dissimilar to what we're seeing. A little bit less pop, but you know.
Here's what I really like about Jarren Duran is it doesn't feel like he's totally mismatched when he's going against a lefty. Whereas Corbin Carroll, if you throw a lefty against him, at least for most of the year, dude, he's looked lost. Yeah. I mean, lost. And Julio, Julio just, I said earlier, we could do a whole show on him. I don't understand Julio. I don't understand it. And so when I don't understand somebody, I don't draft them. And so like Julio will not be on my teams next year because I'm not worried about taking the discount because I don't know what he is, if that makes sense. And so I would take Jarren Durant definitely over Julio, and I'll see how Corbin looks throughout the rest of the year into the postseason. But as of this moment, Labor Day 2024, I would give a slight edge to Jarren Durant going into 2025.
Dude, it's going to be fun to see like the outfield rankings, because I'm pretty sure we had Julio blue chip. I mean, I'd be surprised if we didn't. Where they go, it's going to be that's going to be a lot of fun. My guy, as we keep pushing on here, my riser, James Woods, man. In a year, James Wood. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know this guy or knew somebody who knew him? Didn't you know somebody? Am I totally?
No, I knew Robert Hassel, who was the other big piece in that trade.
Okay, I was like, when I was reading about him, I was like, he was in the Soto deal. Will knew somebody in the Soto
Robert
deal.
Hassel, but
gotcha.
He's
gonna get his tickets to Seattle games.
Probably. I know, right?
Or I said Seattle. I go to San Diego.
Washington.
Washington. Mm-hmm. That's hilarious, dude. Okay, the James Wood. In a year where a lot of these offensive prospects have come up and been lackluster, Jackson Holiday, Kobe Mayo, Junior Caminero has shown flashes.
I like Junior.
But I mean, is he what I thought it was going to be? Probably not.
Well, very limited sample size.
That's true. I don't want to hate on your guy.
He's going to be a really good player.
He's fun to watch for sure. This guy's been such a stud, though, James.
Yes.
280 average, 5 RBIs, 31. It's 5 home runs, 31 RBIs, 11 steals. Since the beginning of August, 318 average. This dude has really looked solid. 934 OPS. Yeah. So you're looking at a guy who, I keep bringing him up, I think he's come up and done more than Harris did. He's cooled down a little bit this week, but maybe it's just a bad week. I think he's going to be a problem next year for Major League Baseball. And in a I think we were all struggling in the outfield last year. We got some young talent coming up. We'll talk about it later, but our main man O'Neal Cruz is a center fielder now, so he'll have shortstop outfield eligibility. It's getting younger. It's getting more fun. This is going to be interesting, but James Wood, anything on him before we roll?
I like him a lot. I think you're right, man. He looks like kind of of this year's like up and coming crop. I'd put him, Jackson Merrill. I think he's been awesome for the Padres, so I got to give him a shout out. But other than Jackson Merrill, man, James Wood looks legit going into next year. I will say Jackson Chourio looks really, really good now for Milwaukee. Wow. He's really flipped a switch the second half. And then, Junior Caminero, he's only been up for a couple of weeks now, but I watch a lot of the Rays, and I think Junior Caminero is going to be a great one for Tampa moving forward. But going back to James Wood, man, I think he's going to be a franchise cornerstone type player for Washington for a lot of years.
Yeah. It's kind of like they lost Harper and Soto, and now this guy's come in, and he kind of looks like O'Neal Cruz, but maybe a little bigger.
Yeah.
Less speedy.
He looks like a really athletic Josh Bell to me.
Oh, that's so funny. That's really good, dude. Yeah, that's good. He does. He looks like a trimmer, more fit Josh
Yes.
Bell before Josh Bell was like, I'm just going to go play for 7 different teams.
Yes.
And, you know, I'll get cut by Miami,
Right.
but that's okay. I'll hit better for the D-backs.
Yep.
I think he just needs to be on competitive teams.
Yes,
he's like
he
Javi
does.
Baez.
Yep.
Baez was better with the Cubs when they were competitive.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Don't send him to Detroit. I mean, what do you expect to happen, guys?
Right.
This is their fault more than it is ours. Speaking of people who's their fault, followers. These guys, we got 2 names on here. I think we both would have put a lot of money in they're going to excel basket.
Yeah.
Tell me about your guy.
Oh God, first of all, there were so many guys that we could have put on this list. I could have put Julio on here. I could have put. I thought long and hard about putting my boy Luis Robert, but I just didn't want to waste my breath on anything White Sox related. So, anyways, I went with Adolis Garcia.
Yeah.
What in the world is going on really with the whole Texas Rangers lineup? But what in the world has happened to Adolis Garcia? I mean, this guy was. He was. Other than Corey Seager being amazing last year, this guy, there was a great argument that this guy could have won World Series MVP. I mean, he was that incredible during the playoffs, right? And until he got hurt. But, dude, I don't understand. Like, Adolis, though, going into this year, obviously, here's the thing. Everybody knows that he wasn't going to hit 300, but he is... Ever since he's come to the MLB, he has been a
245, 250.
Yeah, like a 30, 40 homer guy. He'll even steal some bases. I mean, an RBI machine. And this year, man, it has been awful. I mean, like, he is, in my opinion, even in big leagues like 10, 12, 14 teams, dude, I wouldn't roster this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotten to that point. It's like, why? I mean, I know he's going to go 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Like, it has been so terrible.
I got him in a points league, and it's like, what am I doing? You know, he's a terrible points league player.
Drop him.
Doesn't walk.
No.
He strikes out a ton.
Yeah.
He somehow is averaging over 3 points. That's kind of why I haven't. I don't understand how that happens. I haven't dropped him because that's kind of why, but there's nobody out on the wire that will do better than that. But
Lord.
I don't know where it comes from. His OPS is 683.
It's awful.
The only thing he does is hit the ball hard. Doesn't hit it square. As far, a lot of, he strikes out a lot.
And what's crazy is he actually got off to a really good start the first, 5 or 6 weeks of the season.
I don't remember that. I believe
he did. He was actually off to a great start, and then it's like, what happened?
Yeah. This has been the worst year. He's taking steps back.
Ugh.
For sure. Yeah, 225 average, 21 home runs, 66 RBIs, 11 steals. This is a guy who had 39 ding dongs, 107 RBIs. So he's not sniffing that this year.
I kid you not. He will not even be on my draft board next year.
Oh. Yeah,
he will not be on my draft board.
We're going to leave him off the outfield list. That's what we're going to do.
I mean, I'm not taking him. I'm not.
Oh, man. Oh. He got a walk on August 22nd. That's what it says here. That's exciting for him.
So terrible.
I'm psyched. Real quick, and let's parlay this just for the sake of time. My follower is Will Smith.
He's been bad.
Dude, okay. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the contract. But let's dive into this real quick. Let's move on to the next thing. What the heck happened to the catcher position? Okay, you put this on here. I want to kind of give you the floor to kind of paint your picture. I have our blue chips, or at least my blue chips: Adley Rutschman, Will Smith, JT. That I want to touch on because, like, what the heck? But after that, fair game. But go ahead, let me know kind of how you're feeling with these catchers.
I mean, I just, like when we were putting kind of the outline together for this show, for all our listeners, Cody always kind of throws it out at me, like, what are a couple of topics that you want to talk about in the grill segment? And to be honest with you, one of the first ones that came to my mind is what in the world is going on with the catchers? Because, I mean, I still kind of believe this, but like from an offensive standpoint, when you look at the talent in the league, I really do feel like this is one of the golden eras of, the catching position, at least in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got guys like what we've mentioned, like Adley, we thought Will Smith, JT's been there for so long, and just, there's even a bunch of young guys that we could throw in there that we know has a lot of talent. William Contreras, Wilson Contreras has been a good player for a long time. But what's really crazy is at the beginning of the year, it felt like a lot of these guys got off to great starts. Like, Adley was off to a great start. William Contreras looked like a MVP candidate. Will Smith got off to a great start, hitting cleanup in the Dodgers lineup. And it's like we got 2 months into the season, and it's like everybody just kind of started falling off and they haven't recovered. And I just don't really understand it. Like, I mean, the only one that really I kind of at least feel like there's a little bit understanding for is JT. JT's feels like he's kind of at the back end of his prime at this point. He's gone through some injuries. He even, was out for a month or two earlier this year with, I think it was the meniscus or his knee.
Yeah, 100%.
And so that kind of explains some things there. But as far as, I mean, the biggest shockers for me is Will Smith, you mentioned, and even Adley, because Adley hasn't been great these past few months either.
I got numbers on both these guys.
And Will Smith, once we got through about, let's see, beginning of June, dude, it's been
here
rough.
we go. Real quick, let me do. I'll go in order just for. I think it'd be less confusing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I talk sometimes. I confuse myself. Adley Rutschman, I had him as number one.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't draft him anywhere because I felt like the capital was too high. But numbers overall, not that bad. 257 batting average, 18 home runs, 71 RBIs. Since the All-Star break, listen to this. A 202 average. He's slugging 311. He's got 2 home runs, 12 RBIs, 14 runs scored.
Jeez.
That's since the All-Star break. This is not a small sample size anymore. Will Smith, this was my follower, so I'll peel back to that, I guess. Tell 2 seasons. You said June. That's spot on. Prior to June 13th, 294 average, 10 home runs, 42 RBIs, and 864 OPS. He was batting 4th behind maybe the best top 3 in Major League Baseball history. That's probably pushing it, but they're up there.
Oh, yeah.
After June 13th, the 179 average, 6 home runs, 21 RBIs, 604 OPS, and he's batting 6th now. They've slid him down.
604 OPS.
He's looked so bad. And he signed that deal, what is it, 10 years for 144?
Yeah.
I wonder if the money, dude, is that getting to him? Because I'm pretty sure that was near the beginning of the year, but it was not. It might have been before the season started.
I think it was before the season started. I think it was right before it.
I don't know what's going on with this dude. He's not hurt, or at least he hasn't said he's hurt. He's been out there catching, DHing. He's looked bad. They've sat him certain days just because he's been a hole. So he's been the worst batter in the one league I have him. Category. I have him in some points leagues, but he'll draw a walk, so that's kind of helpful. But JT, everything you said, not far off, dude. You're 100% right. He's reaching this point where I think we have to stop looking at him as like a top 5 catcher and maybe look at him as like a top 10. Yeah. Because we used to set him apart were the steals. Yeah, he'd steal 20, and that was like 15 more than any other catcher with good hitting numbers. His numbers, honestly, haven't been that bad. I don't have him here, but I think it was like 250. They're not different than what
the last few weeks have actually been much better. He was struggling for a long time.
Counting stats have been down because he hasn't been out there. The average has been similar to where it's been over the last 3 years. He only has 1 swipe. It's probably because of the knee injury. So he's just not. And for where a lot of people, he was the first catcher taken in a couple leagues I played in. Yeah. That's just not. I don't think it's blue chip anymore.
No.
If you had to take a swing, I mean, who do you think's catcher number 1 right now? Because I have a guess.
God, it's a great question. I would put, I don't know. I mean,
I got William Contreras.
Yeah,
I would draft him.
I'd put William Contreras as of right now. I'd still have Adley probably second, just because I think 250 something, whatever he's hitting right now, is his absolute floor.
Yeah.
And I think Baltimore's lineup, I mean, that whole lineup's been scuffling for a while. And
we could talk about it. The Yankees have had a bad stretch of games.
Yeah.
Baltimore's had a worse stretch of games.
Yeah,
both teams can look at themselves in the mirror and say, "What the heck?" Corbin Burns. I mean, just going back to talking about random baseball teams. Corbin Burns has been bad.
Yeah.
Like the whole month of August, his ERA was over 7.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would say going back to the catchers though. I mean, I'm with you. I think William Contreras, as of right now, would probably be catcher 1. I think Adley is right there, just based off of still upward trajectory. I would say he's probably number 2.
Mm-hmm.
But man, let me throw this out there. I mean, again, we're really early, obviously, going into 2025 talking about strategy, but like, what's the strategy for 2025 catcher? I mean, as of this moment for me, dude, I'm just gonna fill every other position and just see what's left at catcher. I mean, I don't feel great enough about anybody. I just feel like they're all kind of lumped together right now. There's nothing that's really just like, oh my God, let me go get this guy.
Okay, so I'm with you. My 5 probably Contreras, Rutschman. I still like Will Smith 3. I know he's been bad.
Ooh,
I'm gonna keep him at 3. I'd probably go Diaz and.
So you still like Will Smith over Yainer?
I think so.
That's interesting.
If you're telling me year over year, I'd be close. Let's see how the next month goes.
Okay.
I might switch those 2. And then Salvi just doing his dang thing. After that, it's a glob. There are some young people that get me kind of excited that I think we'll be able to wait on in drafts. Austin Wells is pretty solid for the Yankees.
Yep.
Francisco Alvarez for the Mets.
Yeah.
He's cooled off, but he's shown that, the discipline can be there. They're going to start him because he's so good defensively.
You know who my sleeper is going in 2025 at catcher?
Oh, Hoppy.
Nope.
No. Big Dumper?
I do kind of like him because he's an outlier. He's going to hit 35 home runs.
Yeah. Average isn't there.
Right. You get one more guess.
One more guess? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have one hint? Is it a guy who is
the guy that was traded, former big time prospect? He was traded to a new team this year.
To a new team this year. That should be a good enough hint for me. Oh, Keibert. Ruiz.
Nope.
No, this year. I don't know. You gotta tell me.
Joey Bart.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I
think Joey Bart, man. Hey, I'll say it this way. Sometimes you just need to change the scenery.
Yeah.
And I think Joey Bart is going to find his niche. He's going to be catching the most electric guy in all the game. Obviously this year moving forward, Paul Skeens.
Rich Hill.
Right? And I tell you what, when guys are former first round picks, top prospects, it's never a lack of talent. It's just a matter of, do you get in the right organization that knows how to develop? Do you get in the right surroundings? I think Joey Bart's going to figure it out in Pittsburgh, and I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I don't think he's going to be a franchise player like we might think of somebody like Adley Rutschman. But I think Joey Bart's going to go in the kind of mid to late rounds next year as kind of an afterthought. And I think he might end up being a steal.
Yeah. I wonder what they're going to do with Henry Day. I mean, they put him in the outfield.
He'll be an outfielder.
And then didn't they have a catcher that went down who was going to be their starter? I'm not going to remember his name.
Possibly.
Because I'm not that big of like a Pittsburgh Pirates fan.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Joey Bart.
He's looked good, dude. He looked good before he got hurt. I tell you who doesn't look good. He might look great. He's got a lot every day Saturday for this guy right now. Because I don't know if you guys know this about baseball contracts. It's all guaranteed. Seattle. They fired Scott Service. a couple like last week, I think, week and a half ago. Where do they go from here? Let's talk about it. The Mariners. They make a change, trying to salvage their playoff hopes. I have to say that's what they're doing. They announced last Thursday, yeah, there we go, that they have fired manager Scott Servais. They have tabbed Dan Wilson, their new skipper. They also let go of their hitting coach. I decided to put that in there because why didn't we do that in like April? I mean, this is the worst offense. Their offense. Are you sitting down?
Yes.
Listener, are you sitting down? Offense is worse than the White Sox. 31 win. Every offensive guy average home run, RBIs. What are
bad.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Yeah, it's unbelievable. As unbelievable as their rotation is in Seattle, their offense is that unbelievable bad. Here's a quote from Dipoto, Jerry Dipoto, famed president of baseball operations, who says if he can just win 54% of games, they'll make a profit. That's a real quote from a baseball person, so it's got to be tough to root for that team. We believe we needed a new voice in the clubhouse. Dan knows our team and has been a key member of our organization, working with the players at every level over the past 11 years. He's well respected within and outside our clubhouse, and we're confident that he'll do a great job in leading our group over the next 6 weeks. We're talking about 6 weeks. What happened that you're just like, we can't ride with Scott Servais anymore? That's what I want to know. Servais was 680 and 642 since he was hired before the 2016 season. Here's my question for you, Will. Will this matter?
Will it matter? I don't think so, because I don't think they're going to catch the Astros, and I don't think that they're going to catch any of the wild card teams ahead of them. So it feels kind of like a moot point. But it feels like to me that Scott Servais was kind of the scapegoat. I mean, honestly, you never know in these situations. You don't know if there was something going on behind the scenes, or if he lost the locker room, or whatever the case might be. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, I mean, you mentioned all those stats. I mean, the problem with the Mariners is they've got just so much swing and miss in that lineup. I mean, the problem is you could have a inning to where you've got bases loaded or 2 men on with 0 or 1 out, and then the next 2 or 3 guys could strike out, and you just leave them all sitting there. Whereas if you got at least some guys that can put the ball in play, at least manufacture a run or make the defense make an error or something, But you watch the Mariners play, and they'll make mediocre pitchers look like great strikeout guys. That's how bad that lineup has been. And, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of blame to go around, in my opinion. At the end of the day, the players have to play.
Yeah.
But also, like, let's go above the manager, the GM. Look, you're the one that put this team together.
Right.
That has
you hired the manager.
Right. You've done obviously a great job of picking and manufacturing and developing talent on the rotation. But what about figuring out a lineup that can somewhat complement the rotation and even the bullpen? The bullpen's been good for the most part. But, man, that lineup, though, is just so... I mean, if I was a Mariners fan, I mean, you talk about just pulling your hair out. It's like, how are we wasting this kind of pitching with...
That's what I was just about
not
to say.
even a below average lineup, like a terrible lineup. That's so bad.
Yeah, here's the deal. Like, it's frustrating, and I think you can speak to this probably as well, but it's frustrating to be like a Red Sox fan. And we pay Rafi Devers $340 million, and it's just like we're just wasting his prime.
Right.
This has got to feel like that, but probably worse for that rotation.
Yes.
Who have some people locked up, but on a team that's not a big market team.
Right.
All right. I think they have money to spend because you'll hear their name kicked around with some of the big free agents. Haven't really brought any of those in. But there's only a small window for all these guys to still be here and work as a unit. You can tip your cap and say, okay, they went out and tried to get better. They brought in Randy Arozarena, and I think there's like one other guy that I'm totally blanking on. But
Justin Turner.
Justin Turner. That's exactly what I was trying to
But
think
look
of.
at Randy Rosarina. That's a perfect example. What's he always been prone to do? Strike out. Like, and it just feels like more of the same. You got rid of Teoscar Hernandez. All he did was strike out in Seattle. I mean, it's just.
And to see what he's doing in LA
it's the same kind of stuff, though. Like, I just don't understand it.
Yeah. Listen, I think if they have a chance, Julio's got to go over the next 4 weeks. I mean, that's it. That is it. You can't look at anybody else and say, like, oh, it's okay. Like, dude, no. You're the one who signed long term. You are here. You are the face of this franchise. You gotta start acting like it. And that may not even be enough. We'll see as Kyle Tucker comes back for Houston middle of this week. We'll see. I don't know what I lean that something was going on, like he lost the locker room, because to fire the manager with 6 weeks to go is it's pretty desperate. If nothing's going on, it's wild to me. That's just wild to me.
Seattle just cannot waste these guys in this rotation. I mean, come on.
Well, they got jumped last day of the year by who? The Rangers.
Right.
Who did what? Won the World Series. So, and I'm with you, dude. I think they are the team no one wants to see to get in. I think that was a beautiful call.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I just don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to.
I think they play Houston the last series of the year or the second to last, so that could be fun. I could be wrong.
They need Houston to lock up the division.
Well, so and that would not matter. Well, they're closer to the division than the wild card, and then obviously have less teams to jump. So I think their best shot is probably the division. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
I just don't see the Astros really backpedaling, though. I see more potential in like the Royals. That's true. Wheels falling off, you know what I mean? As opposed to the Astros, the wheels falling off.
I get past my Red Sox first. All right. Tyler O'Neill, have you seen that guy's arms? That dude.
Yeah, I don't want to mess with him.
Get past Tyler O'Neill. Nobody. It's pretty impressive. Well, here's what I want to know, dude. What's more impressive to you? Okay, as we move on, Shohei Ohtani and what he's doing, or Aaron Judge? Let me just set the scene a little bit. Okay, you got Shohei Ohtani. And I think we're talking about the respective AL and NL MVPs. I think those races are done. I think they're clear second place guys who any other year would win it, which we don't have time to talk about right now. But here's Shohei, okay? He's attempting to go 50-50, 50 home runs, 50 steals. That's never been done. He's at 44 home runs. He stole 3 bases today, turned into Ellie De La Cruz today. He's at 46 steals. So he needs 4 steals, 6 home runs over the last 4 weeks.
He's got it.
You think so? I think he's unbelievable. No one's ever done 43-43. He's already done that. This dude's insane. Or you have Judge, who's on pace with 51 home runs. He is on pace to hit 61, which would 62, which would tie his own record. He was on pace for 63, but he went the whole weekend without hitting a long ball. I wonder if he's feeling okay. And here's the thing about Judge. He had 37 home runs before he hurt his toe 100 games into the season last year. So he was pushing 60 last year. I think that right field fence in LA took us away from maybe one of the most incredible 3-year runs outside of Barry Bonds. I mean, Judge is doing this clean. So to some people, his American League record is the home run record for a year. We're not going to get into it, but dude, he's been insane. Which one do you like more? I'm sorry to make you choose.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how I can pick one. I mean, they're both unbelievable. I mean, these two guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make an argument. I mean, I don't even think it's an argument. I mean, of this era of baseball, like this current era, like they are Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
There aren't any other players like them now, like with Aaron Judge. I mean, I've said this before, when certain guys get hot, it's a 2-week stretch of, a really high average and some home runs, some RBIs, all that kind of stuff. When Aaron Judge gets hot, it's like 2-3 home runs a game
Yeah.
for multiple days in a row, and it's pretty incredible. But for Shohei, he's just different. I mean, he's just different. I mean, he is like, he's bigger than everybody else. He's faster than everybody else. He throws harder than everybody else. I mean, he's just a whole different level of talent, even from major leaguers. And so I guess if I had to pick one, I'll maybe give just a slight edge to Shohei just because of the speed. I mean, like, I get it's bigger bases, and I get it's the rules that you can't throw over there more than 3 times, but man, you still 50 bases.
Right.
That's unbelievable.
I know.
And I mean, to hit probably 50 home runs, I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so I'll just give a slight edge because of that, but please don't hear me wrong. Aaron Judge is unbelievable. And Cody, you and I talked about 2 years ago was when Judge really, really came onto the scene and was just unbelievable. It's like, okay, is this the best we're ever going to see out of Aaron Judge? And we kind of thought the answer might be yes. But it was an emphatic no. Like you said, like the stretch that he's been on essentially for these past 3 years is pretty insane.
Yeah. Yeah, he is making what Juan Soto is doing in New York, which is an historic season in its own. Like, no one talks about it. I feel kind of bad for him. Nobody talks about it. This guy signed a 9-year, $360 million deal. Might be underpaid.
Right?
Yeah. He's insane.
And Juan Soto's been incredible. I mean, he's got an OPS of like right out of 1,000, right?
I think it's like 1,080.
Yeah.
Judge has 100 more. It's like 1,100 for Judge. Yeah,
it's incredible.
It's and the Yankees still might not win the division because there's so many holes in that team. Yeah, I'm telling you, Red Sox fan here, Rays fan there. You're gonna want to watch these two play together, and it might only be for this year. So click on a Yankees game because it's intense because you can almost see. And obviously, the announcers aren't going to let you live it down, but you can see the pitcher sweat, when the 9-hitter gets up. And if the 9-hitter gets on, it's like, oh, leadoff guy's on. If he can get on, there's nowhere to put these guys. You can just see. That's got to be a stressful way to get into a game.
I can't wait to watch them in the postseason, though, like because those are. I mentioned it with Bryce Harper. There's a lot of really, really great baseball players in today's game. But there's not that many that are clutch in the biggest of moments.
Yeah.
And Aaron Judge and especially Juan Soto are two, at least in years past, have been clutch players. And I cannot wait to see Yankee Stadium when those two guys come up in big moments in the postseason. And if they deliver, that place is going to be pandemonium. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hey, I heard something the other day, and I'm fact checking here because I don't want to lie to you. And I'm sure we have tons of time for this. We always joke about my boy Kyle Tucker and his postseason stats.
Oh, God.
Would it interest you to know that he has a higher batting average at 237 than Aaron Judge does at 211? Now, OPS is a little
in the postseason.
In the postseason.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say he's probably less home runs than Judge. I'm trying to find out right now. This is the weirdest website I've ever seen. StatMuse. I've never heard of that, but it's the first thing. It's got everything I need here.
So Judge, though, let's remember this though. Since Judge has had his 3-year stretch of awesomeness, he was only in the postseason that first one, right?
That is a truth fact.
Because they didn't make the playoffs last year.
No. He batted 139 in 2022. Whoa.
Okay.
So here's the deal with that Yankees lineup, dude. Because I like to watch them lose. If my Red Sox don't win, it's kind of like It's kind of like a win for me. It's the only way in life that I ever root against people. I really want everybody to do good in life. Okay, guys. Let me tell you something. If either one of them get cold, I can't see Juan Soto getting cold in the playoffs because we know what he does. If Judge gets cold, though, it's going to be tough for them to win against good pitching.
I agree. No, I absolutely agree with that.
Statistics show home runs win in the playoffs because it's hard to get more than one hit. And so if you go home or cold, hey, I'm just saying, we'll see. We'll definitely see. All that to say, I'm more impressed with Shohei.
I agree.
Long walk for a short drink of water. I don't know if you saw his dog throw out the first pitch the other day.
No.
mean, what doesn't this guy do great? Yeah, I was listening to this guy. It's RotoWire has a podcast talking about how this guy did a draft. There was like a 3-day stretch with Ohtani was going in the second round because we weren't sure if he was playing because of the gambling thing.
Yeah.
And he said he did 4 drafts. All 4 of those drafts, the team at first got Shohei in the second round.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's insane. I don't think we'll ever see anything like this guy again. And he's not even pitching this year.
Right.
He's on his way back from Tommy John.
The Dodgers need him.
Dude, they might. Listen, I don't know.
They're not going to pitch him this year. There's no way.
I wish they would. It would be absolute fireworks, Will.
Yeah.
We moved on to Roman Candle, Pitch Click Player of the Week. All right. 2 seconds. Here's what we're going to do. Let's look at the results from week 8. This was like a year ago. We'll pick C.J. Abrams, okay? C.J. Abrams had a 178, and this is 49 games. 178 batting average, 5 home runs, 19 RBIs. You see the name on the spreadsheet of who I picked, right? You're thinking there's no way Will wins this one. I picked Bo Bichette.
He's been hurt.
He's been hurt. He played 7 games since then. I didn't even 143 average. Okay.
Oh, Lord.
I didn't even look after that. I was just like, this is
what
lame.
A disaster of a season.
So I decided, let's talk about the fan vote that put Will up 4-1, which was Cody Bellinger versus Walker, Christian Walker, who subsequently has gotten hurt. So I really shouldn't pick anybody. Everybody I picked this year has gotten hurt. Here are some numbers from that conversation we had. Okay. Your pick, Cody Bellinger, again, the one that fan voted to win, 289 average, 6 walks, 16 Ks, 3 doubles, 1 homer, 5 RBIs, a 699 OPS. Walker, 18 for 85, 212 average, so much less on the average. No walks, 24 Ks, 5 doubles, 5 homers, 13 RBIs. Here is my point, and something that I had to train my mind to a little bit. I think a lot of people, and I think a big mistake, I'm not saying that it would have went any differently. I think maybe I shouldn't have put it in the group because what I noticed in my leagues were a lot of people would like pick A, and then everybody else was like, oh yeah, definitely A. I don't see anything here in a Roto league, which are the leagues that I'm posting these in, 5 categories. Walks don't matter. Ks don't matter. I mean, it affects your average, but doubles, home runs, RBIs all go to Walker. I think it's something fantasy baseball where a lot of people get fixated on average. A lot of people flip on their app and they can't stomach a 230 day with 4 home runs because, you know, it's kind of tough to look at. Do you have anything on just kind of, I don't even know the question I'm asking. I just think it's something that I've kind of noticed over the years. I think, you know, people get fixated on average a little bit, Will. And I'm not saying that I want the point back. I definitely don't. I kind of think this is over for this year because, you know, Bo Bichette ain't playing.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
I think I think I understand perfectly what you're saying, and I can't agree more with you. I think here I'll give you a couple of examples. And let me say this, maybe this will make more sense. I think batting average is one of the most overrated categories in all of fantasy baseball. I really do. It sounds crazy, but just like ERA and pitching, ERA is a byproduct of everything else, right? It's like WHIP is what I look at because WHIP tells you the story. Like WHIP is what, you know, WHIP is essentially walks combined with hits per inning pitched. And so if I've got a guy who let's say, has a 1.0 whip, which is actually really good,
Mhm.
but let's say they have a 4-something ERA. Well, if you're in a head-to-head league, there's going to be a couple of weeks to where, if someone has a 4 ERA, that they're probably going to hurt you
Mhm.
in ERA. But there's also going to be some weeks to where like the ERA is great, if he pitches well.
Mhm.
But the whip is something that is more sustainable week after week after week after week, whereas ERA is going to fluctuate.
Sure.
Same thing with batting average.
Mhm.
If you've got a guy who can hit 35 home runs,
Mhm.
that is more of an outlier stat as opposed to somebody who can hit for 265, And
Mhm.
like, let's use this example. If batting average is so valuable, why isn't Luis Ariz getting drafted in the, third round? I mean, he's not, and he shouldn't be, by the way, because he doesn't do anything else other than give you a high average.
Yeah.
And so I say all that to say, you're exactly right. I think batting average is, I don't know, like, I guess the easiest way to say it is batting average is one category, one category. But if you got a guy who can hit, let's say, a bunch of home runs, well, that helps you in home runs, that helps you in RBIs, that helps you in runs, that helps you in a lot of things.
Yeah.
As opposed to just getting a couple of hits. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. I think on some level, man, I think people are just obsessed with that number, but if that number is a bunch of singles, it doesn't help. You might score more runs, maybe. But okay, here's the perfect player that I think kind of like is the perfect. He's like the token symbol for this.
Yeah,
Anthony Santander.
Yeah,
239 average.
Yeah.
You hear that, you're like, oh my gosh, 39 homers though, 88 RBIs. He scored 79 runs. He has on the season 122 hits, 63 extra base hits. 63 of those are homers, triples, or doubles. OPS of 826. That's well above league average.
Yeah.
That's about 100 points over league average.
Well, why does Pete Alonso get drafted in the second and third round every year? That's exactly the kind of stats he puts up.
Well, he's been.
In a good, like, that's what you would like reasonably expect out of Pete Alonso in most years.
Yep.
And you're drafting him in the second and third round.
Yep. Yeah. He's 240 average, 30 home runs, 76 RBIs. I mean, it's not that far from where. Yeah. And I think, and you always kind of put this, like, as I was learning the fantasy game, it was stuck with me how, like, you probably can't have a bunch of guys like that, but if you use them to supplement, this is, and we've talked about this before, and you have talked about it because this is kind of your thing. Like, you want a well-rounded team. You want ways to win a lot of different ways. Yes. I'm going into some playoffs. I'm in 8 leagues. Everyone but the podcast league, I made the playoffs, which I thought was hilarious. Am trending towards making the playoffs it'll be next week. So if this week goes terribly, I might not make the playoffs in any of them.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that doesn't happen.
But you're right. Like,
I would, those teams, you're trying to have more than one way to win.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you might win average some weeks. I have a couple of teams. The ones that make me nervous? It doesn't matter where you are in the standings. The ones that make me nervous when it's head-to-head are the ones that's like, okay, I have got to hit because the pitching's not going to be there, or vice versa. Like, you only have I don't have a lot of saves on this team. I better pitch well otherwise because, so I don't know. This has really gotten off the rails here, Will. Reel me back in, baby. But I don't know. When I got the voting results, I was just kind of perplexed, and not that I thought it was gonna be a landslide the other way, but it was 7-3. I thought it'd be closer. I thought it'd be more half and half. So
you're right though. Like, I think that I think that it's really, really easy for somebody who hasn't maybe played fantasy baseball for a while, or maybe they haven't played in a super, super competitive league before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a big flaw is people who way too heavily weight batting average and ERA because
Mhm.
those are kind of the two equivalent stats between pitching and hitting that I think a lot of people in their mindset gravitate to.
Mhm.
But like for me, especially hitting, the key for hitting, in my opinion, is to get a bunch of guys who combine a very good floor as far as batting average, but
Mhm.
people are going to hit for power. So, like, guys who come to mind immediately: Yordan Alvarez, Juan
Mhm.
Soto,
Mhm.
obviously Aaron Judge, but like the guys who are going to hit 270 and above
Mhm.
and also hit more than 30 home runs, those are the gold
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
And so
I think
yeah.
middle of the draft when there's none of those left, those when you really got to get strategic
Yeah.
because you got to know like, okay, what have I done in the first half,
Yeah.
and then you like want to double down and try and make it better and just go strict power, or
Right.
do you want to try and pull some guys who might hit average and
You want a
round it
little
out
bit
a
of
little bit more?
both.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we land, I think.
Yeah.
Some people I've seen people have success. And if you play on Yahoo, and it's probably different. I think Fantrax does it as well. I don't know about ESPN. Haven't spent a ton of time on ESPN fantasy baseball. It's not great.
Yeah.
Uh, but you can look where each team ranks on each category. And it's very interesting to look at. That's what I always do. If I'm joining a new league, especially if it's like a group of guys, look at who's been successful and try and figure out what they're doing. Because
Yep.
that'll paint a pretty, you taught me that too. Everything I'm talking about, you pretty much taught me. And anyway,
Yeah.
all that to say.
To your point, though, if you get a roster full of guys who are just all feast or famine,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be some weeks to where you look incredible,
Mm-hmm.
but there's going to be some weeks to where you get your doors blown off and you
Yeah.
just can't, that's not sustainable. Like if you
Yeah.
have a team that is just so up and down,
Yeah.
right? Think of it as a roller coaster. Like it literally is a roller coaster, but you got to have some guys who can smooth out like those peaks and valleys,
Yeah. Yep. Dude, I'm so with you. I'm so with you. And I think that's kind of the beauty of head to head is it's the beauty. And then I think I texted you a couple weeks ago. It also kind of is like
Yeah.
frustrating because I think I texted Will a couple weeks ago. It was like, I might do more rotisserie leagues next year just
Yeah.
because it's like, I feel like these teams should be better. But it's like strength of schedule. You run into a hotter team.
Yeah.
It's just like, woo, you'll go on a stretch where it's like, why is this team not winning? Your numbers are so good, but it's just not better than the guy you're playing that week, and that can get frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Will, let's move on to quote unquote week 9 picks.
Yep.
We'll give you CJ Abrams because he was out there playing. Very exciting. I'm
Yeah.
sure he stole some bases. I didn't write it down. That's fine though. Tell me about your guy real quick.
So yeah, like I tell you what, this guy, I'm not gonna lie. So obviously, people, Pirates fans probably really enjoy watching the Pirates, but Pittsburgh, I feel like is easy to get lost in the shuffle. Other than Paul Skeens coming up, obviously he was the talk of baseball for a while. But I tell you what, I think they've found maybe a franchise player on the batting side of things too. And O'Neal Cruz over these last few weeks has really impressed me. Going into the year, I wasn't sold on him. I saw way too much swing and miss. I saw way too little plate discipline in a lot of his at bats. He was very much a liability whenever lefties would face him. But I feel like he's really developing in front of our very eyes here. And man, if he can continue to stay healthy, which he stayed healthy most of this year, I really think he can be a really good player. I mean, I'm talking about a guy who can maybe hit like 30 home runs and steal 30 something bases at least. I think I think he can do this. Yeah. And so anyways, O'Neal Cruz is going to be my player of the week, and I really think O'Neal Cruz can be what the Pirates think he can be, if that makes sense. Like I'm starting to see it now. Like I'm starting to see the talent shine through, and I think this guy for fantasy circles in 2025, this could be a guy who could make the big leap going into 2026. I think he'll be I don't know, you tell me, Cody. I think he could be anywhere between a 4th and 6th rounder next year.
Yeah.
And that following year, he might make the big jump to be a 2nd rounder or something.
Yeah. I think it's in there too. I mean, you got what you can't teach.
Yes.
You got the light tower power, as they say, in space.
Uh-huh.
So if this guy, and he showed flashes of it last year in 9 games before he got
Right.
hurt. Like the K rate was down, the walk rate was up. It's kind of reverted back to where normal is. He walks about 7% of the time, strikes out a little bit over 30, which that's both below average. But listen, he's so young. 25 is gonna be 26. I think we're not saying, go down to 20%, but if you can cut back to 25% on the strikeout rates, there's definitely potential there. And I think he might slip just because he's had a little bit of a so-so year, but it's not hard to see exactly what you're talking about. The power and speed and everything that makes somebody like Elly De La Cruz so exciting is there on some level. So, but you don't have to pay that first round caliber. Now he's not going to steal 70 bases or whatever, but he might steal 40 and not think twice about it.
Would you rather have him or Bo Bichette next year?
Next year, listen, you're not gonna like this answer, bro. I'd rather have Bo, but I'd take Bo on the discount. Here's the deal. I mean, I love the buy low, man, and I would say about halftime it doesn't work out, and then you just cut ties.
Yeah,
I love a good buy low, and Bo Bichette had the worst year you could imagine. I mean, this guy had such a terrible year. He had such a terrible.
My problem with Bo is, and I get that he's hurt. Yeah. My problem with Bo is when he was healthy, he's not stealing bases anymore.
Well, no.
And
I think he hurt his leg, right? 23. But he didn't he lead? I mean, this guy, as a year ago, he led the league in hits. So I'm not ready to give up on that yet. I don't think I draft him as my first shortstop. Like, he's going to have to fall because that is, you said it last episode. Great quote by you. It's kind of fool's gold over there at shortstop right now. I don't know. Something that makes Oneil Cruz a little bit more exciting, though. He's going to be outfield eligibility. So, outfield's pretty weak. This could be super helpful.
I'm going to think about that Bo Bichette versus Oneil Cruz, though. I'm not so sure about that one.
I think you like Cruz. I hear the tone of your voice. I love it. Hey, real quick, Jackson Merrill. I'm just trying to end on a high note.
Now, I do like this dude.
Dude, yeah. Shortstop turned center fielder. So we got a couple of those. See, I was like, I wanted to keep the symmetry there, Will.
Yeah.
NL Rookie of the Year hopeful. I think he's got it.
I do too.
I think the Pirates should shut down or he's not going to shut down Skeens. We're going to see the Garrett Crochet treatment a little bit with Skeens, I'm afraid. And I think that's just going to play into this Jackson Merrill, who's been an absolute stud. And I can't wait to see him in the playoffs. I really hope they make it. I think they will. But it's going to be fun to watch him. It'll be fun to watch him win me this probably last week. Hopefully we can get together sooner than once every 6 weeks. That's my bad, guys. But raising a 4-month-old, so it's the absolute best. Hey, guys, if you made it this far, we're an hour and 40 in. So we appreciate you. I missed Will, so we've been just talking, and you guys just get to listen to it. I think this is great. I'm absolutely losing my voice. I'm sure you can tell. I always like editing this, and you can tell the beginning. The energy's there, and then right now it's 9:30, and I have to be quiet because I'm pretty sure the baby's asleep. So, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. Reach out to us on Twitter at BTH_Cody and at Will Sism. Check out the YouTube channel, Bringing the Heat. Or just leave a review down on the podcast if that's how you're listening to our crispy, soft voices this Labor Day evening. Will, anything before we roll?
No, man. We've done a lot of talking, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're almost to playoff baseball. For fantasy circles, we are in playoff baseball. Good luck to everybody.
Yep.
And we'll talk to everybody very soon.
That's right. Hey. Good luck, guys. This is the exciting part. Have fun, don't stress too much. Don't lose sleep over this. Like Will said earlier, it's just fantasy baseball. It's just a good time. We've had a good time, guys. We love you. Thank you so much for checking this out. But until next time, thanks for listening to episode 83 of Bringing the Heat.